Secretary, I want you to meet, this is Jim Kinhan. He's a Democrat who says he is supporting you.
Hello, Madam Secretary. Very pleased to see you. This may come a little bit from right field, it may seem, but it's very personal to me and resonates probably with many other people who are elderly dealing with health issues. The question is coming from me as a person who is walking with colon cancer. And I'm walking with colon cancer with the word terminal very much in my vocabulary, comfortably and spiritually. But I wonder what leadership you could offer within an executive role that might help advance the respectful conversation that is needed around this personal choice that people may make as we age and deal with health issues or be the caregivers of those people to help enhance their end of life with dignity.
Well, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being part of this great New Hampshire primary process, and thank you for your support. And I really appreciate your asking the question. I have to tell you, this is the first time I've been asked that question.
I figured that.
Yes, I really,
candidate.
And I thank you for it, because we need to have a conversation in our country. There are states, as you know,
yes,
that are moving to open up the opportunity without criminal liability for people to make this decision in consultation by their families, even in some cases with medical professionals. But the issue is whether the medical professionals want to be involved or just be counselors. So it is a crucial issue that people deserve to understand from their own ethical, religious, faith-based perspective. So here's how I think about it. I want as president to try to catalyze that debate, because I believe you're right. This is going to become an issue more and more often. We are, on the good side, having many people live longer, but often then with very serious illnesses that they can be sustained on, but at some point don't want to continue with the challenges that poses. So I don't have any easy or glib answer for you. I think I would want to really immerse myself in the ethical writings, the health writings, the scientific writings, the religious writings. I know some other countries, the Netherlands and others, have a quite open approach. I'd like to know what their experience has been, because we have to be sure that nobody is coerced, nobody's under duress, and that is a difficult line to draw. So I thank you. I thank you so much for raising this really important, absolutely critical question that we're all going to have to do some thinking about.
Thank you. Thank
you. This is Michael Thiel. Michael is a married father of one. He says he's undecided. He's leaning towards Senator Sanders. Michael?
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Secretary Clinton. As Senator and as Secretary of State, you have a history of interventionist foreign policy that is troubling to many Democratic voters, including myself. As a voter who is opposed to the United States being the world's policeman, can you assure me that as President you would not expand our military involvement abroad?
No, I can't, Michael. I mean, I'd like to be able to say I could, but here's what I can say. I have learned and have been, really in the crucible of making a lot of hard decisions over the last years. And military force must always be a last resort, not a first choice. That is one of the biggest differences between me and the Republicans. I worked very hard as Secretary of State to do what I could diplomatically to avoid conflict. That's why I worked to get the coalition together to impose sanctions on Iran so that we could get them to the negotiating table in order to test whether we could get an agreement to put a nuclear weapons agreement in place. I did that in large measure motivated by my deep concern that the absence of effective diplomacy might very well have sparked an arms race among some very unstable nations in the region and maybe even led to conflict. I will do everything I possibly can to avoid sending American troops abroad, getting us involved in military conflicts. But I can't in good conscience stand here and tell you that there would never be any circumstances in the time that I served as president where it very well might be in America's best vital national security interests. So I want to be honest with you. I will do what I can. I will stand against adventurism, ill-thought-out missions. I will not send American combat troops to Iraq or Syria. That is off the table. That would be a terrible mistake. We will continue to use special forces, and we have to because of the kinds of threats we face. You know, the network of terrorist organizations, not just ISIS, but others who are part of this unfortunate network that stretches from North Africa to South Asia, pose serious threats to friends, allies, and partners, as well as to ourselves. And we've got to keep our country safe, and we have to work with the rest of the world to try to defeat ISIS, to end that terrorist threat. So I will be a very careful, deliberate decision maker when facing hard choices, because I know what's at stake. And I know you can understand why there can't be, from me anyway, a blanket statement, but I want to assure you I will be transparent, I will be open, and I will explain to the American people if any occasion arises where we do have to take military action to protect ourselves or our close friends and partners.
I want to follow up yesterday on Capitol Hill at the Senate Armed Services Committee. The commandant of the Marine Corps said that he thinks, and I quote, all eligible and qualified men and women should register for the draft, talking about selective service. Do you think women should also have to register for selective service like men?
You know, it's the first time I heard that yesterday, and here's the reasoning, as best I understand from listening to the testimony excerpts, that if we're going to open combat positions to qualified women so that they can compete to be Army Rangers, they can compete to be Navy SEALs, they can compete to be infantry officers in the Marines, then we have expanded the definition of the all-volunteer military. I have to think about whether I think it's necessary to go as far as our military officers are recommending. You know, from my perspective, the all-volunteer military has worked, and we should not do anything that undermines it because it has provided a solid core of people who are willing to serve our country. The idea of having everybody register concerns me a little bit unless we have a better idea of where that's going to come out. Where I want people to register, I want every young person to register at the age of 18 to be able to vote automatically. And I think if we had, you know, if we had a system like that, I would be very pleased about it. I have a hard time imagining the kind of national emergency that would require the use of the selective service system. So I just have to be better informed about why they're making this recommendation.
I want you to meet Rebecca Hutchinson. She's a former state representative in New Hampshire. She says she's undecided, and she's got a question for you.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, thank you. I feel in a way I sort of have a follow-up to the previous question. You clearly have very impressive foreign policy experience, and I've heard you point out to us that President Obama chose you and trusted you to be his Secretary of State. But I get stuck when I think about you voted for the Iraq War, which you now say was a mistake. What have you learned since that vote that could give me confidence that you wouldn't make a mistake of that magnitude again?
Oh, I think that's a very fair question. You know, I did make a mistake, and I admitted that I made a mistake, and in large measure, that mistake really arose from the Bush administration's approach to what they thought they could accomplish in Iraq, the very explicit appeal that President Bush made before announcing the invasion that getting that vote would be a strong piece of leverage in order to finish the inspections. And he made that comment. And the UN inspector, Hans Blick, said, Give us the time, we will find out. Give us the hammer over their head, namely the vote, and we will be able to find out what they still have in terms of WMD. And the Bush administration didn't give them the time. And that was a breach of faith, in my view. But, you know, I gave them the vote in large measure because I thought that would give us the time and we would find out. Short of invasion, turned out not to be, and I really regret that that's the way President Bush proceeded. That would not be something you would have to worry about with me. If I tell you we're going to do diplomacy, we're going to hang tough, we're going to get answers, that's exactly what we will do.
I want you to meet Sean Burke. He's a Democrat.